Heath here from pickinglessons.com. Danny Boy, also known as Londonderry Air. This is such a well-known tune. So originally this was a traditional Irish air known by Londonderry Air, and later on lyrics were written to it by an Englishman and it became known as Danny Boy. This arrangement, we're in the key of G. We're in drop D tuning to play this one on the guitar, and in a moment we're going to have a look at the first half of the arrangement here. So it's kind of a part A, part B situation, and we'll look at the first 8 measures of the tune here in this video. But if you head to pickinglessons.com, you'll grab yourself a copy of the tablature, so the full arrangement there, and in the members section, we'll also break down the second half of the arrangement in a lesson there. You'll have a play along track you can use with your practice as well. Now, we are in the key of G, but we are in drop D tuning. So essentially what we end up with from string 6 is D, A, D, G, B and E. So all standard except for string 6, which is down to a D. Now once we're there, our G position that we're going to find ourselves in a lot moves from the 3rd fret G to the 5th fret because of the tuning. So we're going to be playing a lot out of this G position here, but we'll look at that as we move through. Rhythm wise for the right hand we're just following the rhythm, the pulse, so the down on the downbeat and up on the offbeat there. And so our first 3 notes that we have in the pickup, so we're starting on the 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and so picking wise, up, down, up, it's all marked in the tablature, so do keep an eye on that. We'll make a note of some of the tricky spots as we go through. So a little bit of a floating moment rather than playing it perhaps down the open position, that melody too. So we do have a bit of floating through our positions as we move through. Now our first G position there with your first finger, string 5 is blocked out with the underneath of the first finger there as we hold on to the 5th fret. And just strum through, making sure that you emphasize or catch that last melody note there, the B on string 2. It will pop out because it's the highest pitched note in that chord, but you don't want to hear string 1 and you don't want to cut short the strum. So make sure you can kind of exaggerate the strum. You don't have to be in any huge hurry to get there. The main thing is really make sure you're hearing that last note. And something you can try is to finish on a rest stroke. So angle that pick in a way that it's slightly pointing up. And as you come through that last string, it will come to rest on the first string, emphasizing the B. Then we're straight into some cross picking. And we get this lovely overlap around our chord. So there's a lot of this happening in this arrangement. So our 3rd finger will come on to the A, and we've got some open strings in there that will continue to ring, and that's part of the charm of this arrangement. Make sure we let those notes ring as long as we can. Notice my right hand there, down, up, down, up, down, up. We're just going to follow that rhythm all the way through. The pick direction follows the rhythm. As we change then into the G over B, and again, string 4 is going to be taken out, just that first finger. So those X's are just indicating that the first finger, or the finger playing that lower string, is blocking that next note. So it's just muted. Just a reminder that we don't want to hear that string. So the G over B to the C. And again, you can just exaggerate that strum in a way that we emphasize the last note. Yeah, see the angle that I'm playing. I'm not holding the pick directly at the strings. I'm kind of pointing it up slightly and fanning it over a little bit more. It just helps to emphasize that last note. Up to the C position. Yeah. Let's have a little run through from the beginning. Let's have a listen first. 3 and 4 and 1. Notice that I was emphasizing the melody on the strum, so making sure I catch that 2nd string melody note on both of those first 2 chords, and then the 3rd string on the C. It's only a slow tune. We don't want to play it overly fast. And the other thing we can do is kind of approach it in a more of a free time as well. So don't be rigid with the time. You can really kind of push and pull the rhythm. But that sort of comes as you get to know the tune though. We'll move on. We'll come back through some of this later, but let's pick it up from the second half of measure 2. So that's on the offbeat of beat 3, 3 and 4, and to the G position. So there's another G chord. Again, third finger, first finger on the D. That's our melody. String 5 is taken out. And a nice little cross picking passage there. So we're holding our chord position, letting everything ring as much as we can. Notice the right hand, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. First finger removing there off the D to the open B. But we're just following the pulse. Right hand follows that pulse. Away we go. Into the D. Now this is where that drop D tuning really shines, yeah? So when we hit that D position a couple of times through the arrangement, that low D bass note. And our A melody note, again, wants to be the emphasis. So the melody always wants to be the most dominant part of what we're hearing. We do need it to be quite present in the mix of what we're playing. So keep bearing that in mind, and the position of that pick on the last note for the melody can really help emphasize that. We'll continue through because the second half is similar in some of these measures. This little pickup though, that's a new one. So we've got this hammer on starting on the offbeat, so 16th note triplets. So it's 3, 4, and 3, and 4, and. If we break down the 8th notes, we have 3 16ths in that 8th note second half of the beat. 3, something like that. And upstroke, down, up, just for where that follows the pulse. So I'll come through at tempo from the previous bar. 2, 3, and 4, and. Yeah? 2, 3, and 4, and. Da 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 da. And once we play that hammer on, open string lets us move to the A positioning for our next chord G. Back up the neck again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, just like earlier. That hammer on, by the way, I didn't mention, that's a grace note, so that's a really quick one in that C position. Happened at the beginning as well, so that hammer on there. Straight into the E on fret 2 there. The open string is just a way of getting into it, and we'll do it quite quickly. Same little lick, same rhythm and everything, same pick stroke. Yep. Now, tail end, just before we hit halfway mark, we've got this G position. And there's our conclusion. So measure 7, 1 and 2, second finger, third finger, yeah, just on that G position. So we're holding that G note through this first 3 beats of the measure. Notice that melody again, nice and strong. And you kind of swing your hand back this way slightly to catch that second finger on the 5th fret C, and then you're going to swing back to catch the A. All our first finger's holding its pressure on the G. So we have. Then that third finger will shift into position on the F sharp, and we'll pull off these triplets. These are 8th notes triplets, so 4 and 1, 4 and 1. So our down strum, again, catches that 4th fret F sharp on string 4. And that little conclusion there from the C into the G. Watching the pick stroke there, that's up, down on those lower notes. So watching the right hand's following that rhythm structure that we tend to favour while we're flat picking. When we're playing a chord, the melody is the last note, so the note on top of the chord. And to really emphasise that, you can just get that rest stroke picking action. So a rest stroke is just when we angle the pick in a way that we follow through and come to rest on the next string. So rather than picking in a normal, perhaps, movement, it just strengthens the sound of that note without having to really put too much emphasis, extra effort on there. And so as we strum in that picking angle, it just really helps. It could get lost if we just strummed it normally, but that kind of angle works really well. So watch that one. Hold everything as long as you can. Like perfect example in the opening measure. Yeah, everything's ringing out, changing position. Now, when you change chords, you've got to let notes go. That's fair enough. But then hold on to that until you have to move again, and so on and so forth. And let everything kind of overlap, and open strings especially as well, that are part of the melody. It just adds to the charm of the sound. All right, so get to know this first. Remember, it's slow, so don't overdo it. It can be certainly played slower than what I've done. You probably don't want to go a whole lot quicker, but certainly experiment. That would be okay. The second half is a little bit more challenging, so we're going to break that down at pickandlessons.com. You can grab the tablature just while you're there, but if you want the lesson, jump into the members section there, and we'll break down the remainder of this arrangement, and we'll look through the hand positions. We're moving up the neck. There's a bit more going on. So pickandlessons.com. I'll see you there.